What's going on, guys? Kenney Conwell here, and if you're watching this video right now, it's because you want to know, should you pay a collection? And what process do you go about when it comes to addressing those type of items on your credit report? Now, chances are the collection agencies beating down your door, they're calling you, they're emailing you, telling you to pay all this stuff, and you're just like, man, should I pay? And most people don't realize when you pay a collection, paying a collection looks just as bad in some scenarios of just having the collection on your credit report as it's not being paid. And let me give you an example before I kind of get into the weeds of this. Have you ever took like spaghetti or had spaghetti to go or any type of red pasta sauce in one of those clear Tupperware containers? You eat the spaghetti, or you put it in there, then you eat it, but it still has that stain where even though you clean it out, it still has a little bit of that stain in the Tupperware. Well, the reason why I'm giving you that picture is because anytime you pay a collection, it looks like the red sauce is still in the Tupperware on your report, and we got to get it completely removed. So that's why even when you pay collections, it's like the stain's still there. So number one, the first thing we have to do is identify where the collection account is. And what I mean by this is this collection account still with the original creditor? That's the first question. Or has it been sent to a third-party collection agency? Now, this is pivotal to understand because the approach you're going to take is going to be similar, but you have to understand that the end goal, which is what we want to be thinking about, is getting this item completely removed from reporting on my credit report. That's the end goal. So the process that we're going to use is going to be indicative of me getting that item completely taken care of. So that being said, if it's still with the original creditor, so let's just say you have a USAA account and it's with the collection agency, well, it's with the original creditor, with USAA. The tactic that you take is totally different than if it's with ABC Collection Agency, because depending upon your challenge or dispute technique that you're doing, when you dispute that information to the credit bureaus, the credit bureau, all they're going to do is turn right back around and say, hey, look, consumer sent us a dispute about this collection account reporting on their credit file. Do you have the documentation to verify this particular collection? And chances are, if it's with USAA, they're going to have the documentation, right? So you have to understand that is it with the original creditor or if it's not with the original creditor, right? Now, in some scenarios, even if it's with the original creditor, you got to get, and we'll spend a little bit more time on this, disputing an account versus challenging an account. It's so huge that you get this. Now, a dispute is the fact of truth, fact of completeness, or the fact of such item exists. So you're giving pure fact. So anytime you dispute a negative item, even though you know you did that, you're kind of operating unethically, which is why when you send disputes, if this has happened to you, you probably received a letter back from Experian or TransUnion Equifax, specifically Experian, saying, hey, look, we've already investigated this dispute. We won't ever investigate it again, because they know that you're just using fact of truth, fact of correctness, or fact of completeness in your dispute, exact language. And they're like, bro, we know this is your account because we just got to verify, and they provide the documentation. That's why we never dispute. Versus when we challenge, in this particular scenario, I'm not saying it's not mine. Can you just verify how you arrived at this item being on my report and provide the documentation showing that you verified that account? That's why sometimes, even if it's with the original creditor, if they're not able to provide the documentation in that time frame, you can still get it removed from reporting, but the collection doesn't go away, right? Now, that's if you're just trying to get it removed. In my professional opinion, if the account is still with the original creditor, the better thing to do is hit that original creditor up and say, hey, look, I hit tough times. Is there any type of scenario that we can work out in which I can make payment arrangements to get this item removed from reporting, or do what I call a pay for delete negotiation? Now, there's going to be two different tactics here since it's with the original creditor. Tactic number one, and I know American Express is real big on this, is they'll give you the opportunity to say, hey, look, if you pay us back, we'll update this and we'll reestablish another credit card with us. So going back to this USAA scenario, if they're like, hey, look, if you make arrangements and you're able to make good on this over the next 12, 24 months, whatever the payment plan is, and we'll still be open to allowing you to keep doing business with us, I recommend you do that, because that's a good financial institution. It shows goodwill, and you can still continue to have a banking relationship with that particular financial institution because you made good on your promise. You took care of the collection. They were able to you were able to negotiate either the complete removal or reestablish a banking relationship with them, so that way you can keep doing business with them, right? So that's like the ideal scenario. And then in that scenario, sometimes you can do a pay for delete, assuming they don't want to reestablish an account with you. You can just say, look, if I agree to pay this, will you agree to remove this from reporting on my credit file? And it's a 50-50 thing. Sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no. But let's just say they say no and you pay it. They're still going to say paid, settle for a lesser amount, which still means you have to challenge that for removal on your credit report completely. Now, that's with the original creditor. Now, the second part of this, I know that was extremely detailed. The second part of this is, what if it's with a third-party collection agency? Now what? What do we do? Now, first off, that third-party collection agency more than likely bought that debt for pennies on the dollar. Chances are they're not going to be able to have the original paper or documentation to verify the fact that when you send, not the dispute, but the challenge to the credit bureaus, they're more than likely not going to be able to verify. And sometimes they can't. So my suggestion almost always is, when it's with a collection agency, do not pay. You challenge. Don't even dispute. There's a difference. You challenge it for removal, right? Because that collection agency is sleazing around. The charge off might be $5,000. They may have got the debt for $200, $300 maybe. And they may say, hey, look, the debt was charged off for whatever I just said. I don't know what I said. I said $3,000, $4,000. But let's say the debt was charged off for $4,000. They bought the debt for $200, $400, something like that. 10% typically, 10% pennies on a dollar, whatever the charge off amount is, what they buy it for. And they may say, look, it was charged off at $4,000, but we can settle with you today for $1,500. Sleazy people. But all they're doing is they're just re-reporting, because what you got to get is the collection agencies pay the credit bureaus to report data about you. So that's why collection agencies got to buy uncollectible debt and then do the settlement agreement, because even if they say, hey, look, you can settle for a lesser amount, they don't care, because in this example, they bought the debt for $200 to $400, but they're pocketing the difference between what the settlement is and what they bought it for. So that's why I'm like, never ever pay a collection agency, especially if they can't verify the debt. You're better off just challenging that bad boy 4 times, 5 times, 6 times until you're able to get it completely removed. And if that collection agent, and when I say challenge it, don't challenge it with the collection agency. You want to challenge that thing with Equifax, TransUnion, Experian, following the challenge process. So in another video, I broke down the difference between disputing and challenging. And then another video, I also covered like how to understand suppression. So you want to review that video so you understand that process. I won't get into it in this video, but assuming you've done that process and you're attacking the bureaus directly, then you can get this item removed from reporting your credit file and save yourself that money, right? Because I'd rather just, for a collection agency, because they don't got the debt. Right? They just bought the debt. I just put you on game, and they bought it from somebody else and they just re-reported it. And they're just trying to get a quick come up. So anytime you get those letters and all that stuff from a collection agency, not their original creditor, a collection agency, man, if you depending upon what time of the year you're watching this, if you like to barbecue, if you like to have a fire pit, use that daggone letter to start the fire. That's my suggestion, because chances are they're not gonna be able to verify it, and you can get it removed from reporting on your credit file. Now, to close this up, so it's clear, in some scenarios, you can challenge for 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, and get it removed from 2 bureaus, and it's still remaining on that 1 bureau. You may have to fold and say, hey, look, I'm not saying this debt is mine, but if I agree to pay you, will you agree to remove this from reporting on my credit file? And chances are they'll say, yeah, we'll get that knocked out and get it removed from your credit file. You can just do a pay for delete negotiation. But I suggest first you challenge it, because typically we're attacking the bureaus directly, and we're leveraging the Fair Credit Reporting Act in our favor to get that stuff off. And that's how you end up getting that stuff removed. So that's the difference between a challenge. So that's why you never pay, a collection, or how or why you should never pay a collection, or when you should. If it's with the original creditor, do the first part. If it's with a collection agency, nah, I really wouldn't do it because of everything I just explained. So I hope this video is helpful. If you want more details on how you can start the journey of improving your credit, click the link just below this video in this YouTube channel, subscribe, and register for my training, The Simple Strategies That's Overlooked by 95% of People Fixing Their Credit. See you there.